Three black SUVs pulled up to her apartment at 5 in the morning. The men who stepped out were not police. They were not neighbors. They moved like soldiers. And they were there because of one mistake she made the night before. She helped the wrong man. But before we get to that moment, before the knocking, before the fear, before the faces at her door, you need to understand how it started. Because it started with rain. And it started with kindness. And by the time it was over, nothing in her life would look the same. Tasha Washington was 27 years old, a black single mother living on the west side of Baltimore. She worked as a nurse at Johns Hopkins, pulling 14-hour shifts that left her feet swollen and her back stiff. She had one son, Malik. 7 years old, bright eyes, big laugh. The kind of kid who drew pictures of his mom in a cape because he believed she could fix anything. That night, Tasha finished her shift at 11 p.m. The rain had been falling since noon, but by the time she walked to her car, it was no longer rain. It was punishment. Sheets of water slamming the pavement so hard the streetlights blurred. Wind screaming between buildings. The kind of storm that makes you grip the steering wheel with both hands and pray your tires hold. She drove slow. Wipers on full speed, headlights barely cutting 5 feet ahead. All she wanted was to get home. Malik was with Mrs. Coleman, the retired teacher next door who watched him when shifts ran late. He was probably asleep by now. She pictured him curled up on Mrs. Coleman's couch, his favorite book open on his chest, one sock hanging off his foot. That image kept her calm. That image kept her driving. Then she saw him. A man, standing on the shoulder of Route 40, no umbrella, no phone light, just a figure in the dark, soaked from head to toe, one hand raised like he had been standing there for hours, waiting for someone who would stop. His car sat dead behind him, hood up, hazard lights blinking through the rain like a slow, tired heartbeat. Tasha's foot hovered over the gas pedal. Every survival instinct she had screamed, "Keep driving." She was a woman, alone, on an empty road at midnight in Baltimore. Stopping for a stranger was not brave, it was reckless. But something made her look at his face as her headlights swept past him. And what she saw was not danger, it was defeat. The kind of look she had seen at patients at the hospital, people who had stopped believing anyone was coming, people who had accepted that they would face the storm alone. She knew that look. She had worn it herself the night Malik's father packed a bag and walked out without saying goodbye. No note, no reason, just gone. Leaving her with a 6-month-old baby, 3 months of unpaid rent, and the kind of silence that fills a room so completely it feels like drowning. She pulled over. The man climbed in. Water dripped from his jacket onto her passenger seat. His hands were trembling from the cold. He smelled like rain and gasoline. "Thank you," he said. His voice was low, controlled, like someone used to keeping his words tight. "Where are you headed?" Tasha asked, her eyes on the road. "Baltimore, visiting family." He said his name was June. He did not say much after that, and Tasha did not push. She was tired, he was cold, the storm was loud enough to fill the silence between them. But she noticed things. Small things. The kind of details a nurse picks up without trying. His knuckles were scarred, not from accidents, from impact. The kind of marks that come from hitting things or people. There was a tattoo on his left wrist, partially hidden beneath his sleeve. Every time he shifted in his seat, he pulled the sleeve lower, covering it, hiding it. And his eyes. He avoided looking at her directly, not out of shyness, out of training, like a man who had been taught never to let someone read his face. When they reached her apartment complex, Tasha parked and turned off the engine. The rain hammered the roof like fists. "I can't let you inside," she said. Not cold, not cruel, just honest. "I have my son in there." June nodded. "I understand." "There's a covered stairwell by the east entrance. It's dry enough. I have a blanket in my trunk." She gave him the blanket. He took it with both hands, and for 1 second their eyes met. In that second, Tasha saw something that made her stomach tighten. It was not gratitude. It was guilt, like a man accepting help he knew he did not deserve. "Thank you, Tasha," he said quietly. She froze. She had not told her name. He turned and walked into the darkness before she could speak. The rain swallowed him whole. Tasha stood by her car for a long moment, heart beating faster than it should, hands gripping her keys until the metal bit into her palm. She told herself it was nothing. Maybe she had said her name and forgotten. Maybe he saw it on something in the car. She told herself a lot of things that night. None of them were true. She checked on Malik. He was asleep at Mrs. Coleman exactly how she pictured. One sock off, book on his chest. She carried him home, tucked him to bed, and kissed his forehead. Then she locked every lock on the door, deadbolt, chain, the extra latch she installed herself the week after Malik's father left. She placed a kitchen knife under her pillow. Not because of June, because that is what survival looks like when you're a woman alone in a city that doesn't care whether you sleep safely. She lay in the dark, rain pounding the window, wind shaking the glass. Something was wrong. She could feel it, the way you feel a storm shift direction before the wind hits. Something about June, something about the way he said her name, something about the guilt in his eyes and the scars on his hands. She did not sleep, not for 1 minute. At 3 a.m., she heard it. Footsteps outside her window. Not one person, multiple, moving fast, and voices, low, clipped, urgent. Not English. Korean. She crawled to the window and looked through the gap in the curtain. 3 black Escalades were parked in her lot. Men in dark coats moved between the vehicles. One was on a phone, pacing. Another swept the building with a flashlight beam that cut through the rain like a blade. Tasha's chest locked. Her breath stopped. Her fingers went cold. She looked at Malik's bedroom door, then back at the window. And in that moment, she understood something that would take days to fully accept. She had not rescued a stranger from a storm. She had opened her door to a war, and the soldiers had just arrived. She had no idea what she invited into her life. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, stay close, because what shows up at her door next changes everything. Tasha did not move from the window. Her knees pressed into the cold floor. Her fingers gripped the curtains so tight her nails went white. The men outside moved with purpose. Not rushing, not searching, organizing. Like they had done this before. Like they had done this many times. One stood by the first Escalade with his arms folded. Another circled the building, checking doors, checking windows. The third stood directly below her apartment and looked up. Tasha pulled back from the curtain, pressed her back against the wall, held her breath. She crawled to Malik's room and eased his door open. He was on his back, arms spread wide, breathing soft and steady. The drawing he made at school was taped to the wall above his bed, a stick figure woman in a blue cape flying over a hospital. Underneath, in messy crayon letters, "My mom is a hero." Her throat tightened. She closed his door without a sound. She sat in the hallway between his room and the front door, knife in her lap, watching the shadow beneath the door, listening for footsteps. She thought about calling the police. Picked up her phone twice, put it down twice. In her neighborhood, calling the police sometimes made things worse, not better. She thought about June, the stairwell where she left him. Was he still there? Had these men already found him? Of course he was the reason they were here. She knew at the moment he said her name in the parking lot, a name she had not given him, unless he already knew who she was before she pulled over, unless the broken down car, the rain, the desperate look on his face, all of it was planned. At 4:51 a.m., a car door opened, then another, then a third. Footsteps on wet concrete, moving toward her building, moving toward her door. Tasha stood. She tightened her grip on the knife. Her hand trembled, but her feet stayed planted. The footsteps climbed the stairs. 1 floor, 2. They stopped on her landing. 3 knocks. Hard, slow, deliberate. The kind of knock that does not ask permission. The kind that says, "We know you are inside." Tasha looked at Malik's door one more time. She set the knife down on the hallway table, close enough to reach, far enough not to provoke. Then she straightened her back, wiped her palms on her scrubs, and opened the front door. 3 men filled her doorway. The one in the center was older, mid-40s, Korean, sharp cheekbones, eyes that moved slow but missed nothing. He wore a long, dark coat that looked like it cost more than 3 months of her rent. His hands were clasped in front of him, the kind of calm that comes from knowing you are the most dangerous person in any room you walk into. The 2 beside him were younger, bigger, built like men paid to stand between bullets and the person behind them. Their eyes scanned past Tasha into the apartment, measuring, looking for exits, weapons, anyone hiding. The man in the center spoke first. His voice was low and smooth, like a blade wrapped in silk. "You are Tasha Washington?" Her mouth went dry. "Who's asking?" He tilted his head, not offended, curious, like a cat watching a mouse decide whether to run or stand still. "My name is not important right now," he said. "What is important is the man you helped last night. Where is June?" Tasha's stomach dropped, but she kept her face still. 14 hours in an emergency room teaches you how to hold steady when everything inside you is falling apart. "I don't know anyone named June," Tasha said. Her voice did not shake. "That's all I did." The man on the left stepped forward, younger, colder, a face that looked like it had never smiled. "You don't understand what you did," he said. "June belongs to us. He took something, and now you're part of this." "Part of what?" Tasha asked. The man in the center raised his hand, and the younger one went quiet, instantly, like a switch had been flipped. "June connects to an organization that does not forgive debts," the Korean man said. His eyes locked on hers. "The Korean syndicate is not something you read about in the news, Miss Washington. It is something people feel. And right now, you are standing very close to something you cannot undo." A chill moved down her spine, not from the cold, from the truth in his voice. "I don't have your man," Tasha said. "I don't know where he went. I gave him a blanket and he walked away. That is the whole story." The man held her gaze for 5 long seconds. Then he looked past her, down the hallway toward Malik's bedroom door, the door with the crayon drawings taped to the outside, the door with the little sneakers sitting beside it. He looked at that door the way a man looks at a card he's saving for later. "Stay out of our way, Miss Washington," he said quietly, "for your sake and for whoever is sleeping behind that door." They turned and walked down the stairs. No rush, no threat repeated. They did not need to. Tasha closed the door. Chain, deadbolt, latch. Her legs gave out. She slid down the door and sat on the floor, arms wrapped around her knees, shaking, not crying, past crying, shaking the way people shake when the body understands danger before the mind catches up. Malik's voice came from the hallway, small, sleepy, confused. "Mama, who was at the door?" She looked at him, standing there in his pajamas with the little rockets on them, one sock still off, eyes half closed, trusting her completely, believing she could fix anything, because that is what the cape in the drawing meant. That is what being her mother meant. She opened her arms. He walked into them. She held him so tight he squirmed. "Nobody, baby," she whispered into his hair. "Just the rain." Her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. She reached for it with one hand, still holding Malik with the other. Unknown number. A text message. "I'm sorry. Don't trust them. I'll explain everything. Please don't throw this phone away." It was from June, and attached to the message was a photograph. An old photograph, faded at the edges, wrinkled from age. It showed a young black woman standing beside a Korean man in front of a building with Korean writing above the door. The woman was smiling, not posed, not forced, a real smile, the kind that only comes from trust. Tasha's blood went cold. She knew that smile. She knew that face. She had seen it in every family album, every framed portrait in her grandmother's hallway, every faded Christmas card kept in a shoebox under the bed. The woman in the photo was her grandmother, Evelyn Washington, young, beautiful, standing arm to arm with a man Tasha had never seen before in her life, in a place Tasha did not recognize, in a world her grandmother had never once spoken about. Tasha stared at the screen. Malik squirmed in her arms. The morning light crept through the curtain, and the storm, the real one, the one that had nothing to do with rain, was only just begun. Tasha put Malik back to bed, kissed his forehead, then she sat at the kitchen table and stared at that photograph until her eyes burned. Evelyn Washington died when Tasha was 12. The obituary listed her as a retired housekeeper from D.C. That was all anyone knew. Evelyn lived like a woman who had erased her first half of her life on purpose. Now, Tasha was staring at the part that was erased. Tasha texted the unknown number. Explain. The phone rang 4 seconds later. Tasha. June's voice was different now. The shaking was gone. The helpless stranger from the roadside had vanished. This voice was steady, measured. Who is the man standing next to my grandmother? Tasha said. Right now. His name was Kang Sung-ho. He ran the Korean syndicate's East Coast operations from 1968 until he died in 2004. The man at your door this morning is his son, Kang Min-jun. Tasha's stomach dropped, but she kept her face still. What does my grandmother have to do with this? Evelyn didn't just clean houses in D.C. She worked for one family, the Kangs, for 15 years. She raised their children. She managed that household. The elder Kang trusted your grandmother more than his own lieutenants. She saw everything, heard everything, and at some point, she started writing it down. Tasha's hand pressed flat against the table. A ledger, handwritten, names of politicians on the syndicate's payroll, judges, police captains, shipping routes, every transaction from 1974 to 1989. Why would she do that? Tasha whispered. Because she was smart. As long as she had that record, the Kang family needed her alive. It was her insurance. Tasha closed her eyes. In 1989, your grandmother left the Kang household and disappeared. New name, new city. The ledger vanished with her. They've been looking for it, Tasha said. For 35 years, the elder Kang searched until he died. His son took over. Every few years, a new lead, nothing solid. Until me. Until you. Her jaw tightened. That's why you were on that road. I spent months researching Evelyn's family. You are her only living descendant in Baltimore. I staged the breakdown. I waited on that road. Something hot moved through Tasha's chest. Not fear. Anger. So all of it was a performance. The cold was real, June said. But yes, I chose you. And before you hang up, listen to why it matters. Kang isn't searching for the ledger to hide it. He wants to destroy it, and everyone connected to it. The same politicians, the same judges from his father's era, some still in office. If that ledger surfaces, his entire network collapses. June's voice dropped lower. 3 weeks ago, I found his cleanup list, names of every person who ever had contact with the old ledger, witnesses, employees, descendants. He paused. Your name is on that list, Tasha, and so is Malik's. The kitchen went silent. Tasha looked down the hallway toward Malik's room, the door still closed, the little sneakers outside it. Her grandmother had spent a lifetime running, so Tasha would never face these people. New name, buried past, every secret kept behind a gentle smile. All of it was protection. One rainy night on an empty road had torn it open. What do I do? Tasha asked. Find the ledger before Kang does. Right now, it's the only thing keeping you and your son alive. The line went dead. Tasha sat alone, phone warm in her hand, her grandmother's face still glowing on the screen. She whispered 3 words she had never said to a dead woman before. Where do you hide it? A grandmother's secret, a ledger worth killing for, and a 7-year-old boy on a kill list. If this story has you right now, subscribe, because what Tasha finds next changes everything. Tasha dropped Malik at Mrs. Coleman's door at 7:15 a.m., said nothing except, "I need a few hours." Mrs. Coleman looked at her face and pulled Malik inside without a question. She locked the door behind them. Tasha drove across town to a storage facility on Pulaski Highway, Unit 14B. She had been paying $60 a month since Evelyn died. 15 years of payments guarding boxes she never opened because opening them meant accepting her grandmother was gone. Today, she opened them. The unit smelled like dust in old fabric, boxes stacked 4 high, labeled in Evelyn's careful handwriting, winter clothes, kitchen, church programs, photos. Tasha tore through them, coats that still smelled like cocoa butter, church programs going back to 1993, photo albums with pages stuck from humidity, recipes written on index cards in fading ink. Nothing. No ledger, no hidden folder. 14 boxes. Nothing. She sat on the concrete floor, hands trembling. Then she saw it, the last item on the bottom shelf, not in a box, sitting alone, placed with intention. A Bible, large, black leather, gold-edged pages. Tasha picked it up. Heavier than it should be. The first few pages were normal, but past Deuteronomy, the pages didn't turn, glued together. She pressed down and felt it, a hollow space carved through hundreds of pages with a razor. Inside sat a small leather journal, dark brown, cracked at the spine. She opened it. The first page was written half in English, half in Korean. Names, dates, dollar amounts, shipping routes along the Chesapeake Bay, police badge numbers next to monthly payments, a federal judge's name circled 3 times in red ink. Page after page, 15 years of records in Evelyn's handwriting, neat, precise, the penmanship of a woman documenting something that could save her life or end it. Tasha turned to the last page. The ink was different here, blue instead of black, fresher, written later than the rest. A note. "If you're reading this, baby, I'm already gone. I kept this because it was the only thing keeping us alive. As long as I had it, they needed me breathing. Destroy it or use it, but never, ever let them know you have it. Love, E.W." Tasha pressed the journal to her chest. Her eyes burned, not from dust, from the kind of grief that hits years after a funeral because you finally understand what the person carried while they were alive. Evelyn hid it inside the Word of God because she knew her family would never throw away a Bible, strategic even in faith. Tasha's phone rang. She flinched. Unknown number, different from June's. She answered. The voice on the other end was calm, polite, almost gentle, the kind of voice that wraps a threat inside a compliment. "Ms. Washington, my name is Director Kang. I believe you have something that belongs to my family." Tasha's grip tightened around the journal. "I'd like to discuss this like civilized people," Kang continued. "You have 48 hours. The line cut cold. Tasha stood in the storage unit, a dead woman's secret in one hand, a dead man's deadline in the other. She slid the journal into her bag, locked the unit, and walked to her car. Her hands were steady. Something had shifted inside her between the first box and the last page. She couldn't name it yet, but it felt like the opposite of fear. It felt like her grandmother's hand on her back, pushing her forward. Tasha did not wait for Kang to choose the terms. She called him back that same afternoon. "Eastern Avenue Diner. Tomorrow, noon. You come alone." Silence on the line. Then a low sound that might have been a laugh. "You're giving me conditions, Ms. Washington? I'm giving you a location. Take it or lose the journal." She hung up before he could respond. Her hands were shaking when she set the phone down, but her voice hadn't cracked, and that was enough. She spent the next 12 hours preparing, not with weapons, with copies. She photographed every page, uploaded them to 3 cloud accounts, mailed a sealed envelope to a P.O. box she opened under a fake name. If anything happened to her, the journal would survive. She was not a spy. She was a nurse who had watched too many patients die because nobody planned ahead. The diner sat at Eastern and Conkling, cracked vinyl booths, off-duty cops at the counter, security cameras above every register. She chose it because a man like King would never feel comfortable here. She needed him uncomfortable. Kang arrived at 12:04, alone, mid-60s, silver hair, a tailored charcoal coat that made every other person in the room look underdressed. He sat across from her and ordered green tea. Kang studied Tasha the way a jeweler studies a stone, turning it slowly, looking for the flaw. "You remind me of someone," he said. "I know," Tasha replied. "Let's skip the small talk." "The journal belongs to my family," Kang said. "I'm prepared to offer $2 million for its return. Cash, untraceable. Enough to leave Baltimore and give your son the life he deserves." He said it the way someone offers cream for coffee. Tasha leaned forward. "Your father tried to break a glass over my grandmother's head when she was 19. She kept that journal because it was the only reason your family let her breathe. And you're sitting here offering me money like this is a business deal?" Kang's teacup paused halfway to his mouth. His composure didn't break, but it bent. She saw it, a flicker behind his eyes. Not anger, recognition. He was looking at Tasha and seeing Evelyn. "I don't want your money," Tasha said. "I want 3 things. Permanent safety for me and my son, guaranteed, documented, June's debt erased, and a scholarship fund in my grandmother's name. $500,000, managed by a trust you cannot touch." Kang set the cup down slowly. "Your grandmother said almost the exact same words to my father in 1989. She was the only person who ever made him listen." The diner hummed around them, forks scraping plates, a television playing the news above the counter, 2 worlds sitting 3 feet apart in a cracked vinyl booth. Kang stood, buttoned his coat. "You have courage, Ms. Washington." He paused at the edge of the booth. "But courage does not protect you from the people above me." Above him? Someone higher. Someone even Kang answered to. 24 hours, he said. "After that, the offer disappears, and so does your advantage." He walked out. The bell above the door chimed behind him. Tasha sat alone, coffee untouched, her hands shaking under the table, but above it her face was still. She opened the photo of Evelyn one more time and whispered, "I'm not done yet, Grandma." She sat across from the most dangerous man in Baltimore and didn't blink. But the people above Kang, the ones he fears, they're coming next. Subscribe. This story is about to break wide open. Tasha called June from the diner parking lot, told him everything. The offer, the deadline, the words, "the people above me." When she finished, the line stayed quiet for too long. "Tasha, there's something I should have told you the night you picked me up." "Then tell me now." He wasn't just Kang's operative, he was Kang's son. Not by blood, adopted, pulled from a street orphanage in Busan at age 9, raised inside the syndicate the way other children are raised inside religions. Total obedience. He fed him, trained him, gave him a name when the world had thrown him away. For 18 years, June was the person Kang trusted most. He ran operations across 3 states, knew every safe house, every route, every name, the heir to an empire built on blood. Then 2 years ago, everything broke. Kang ordered the elimination of a family in Virginia, a mother and 2 children. The father had cooperated with federal investigators, already in custody. The family posed no threat. Kang ordered it anyway. June was assigned to confirm the job. He drove to the house, sat in his car for 3 hours. Through the front window, the mother was reading to her kids on the couch. The younger one kept falling asleep and waking up, trying to stay in the story. He could not move. Because he didn't see a target. He saw every woman Kang's family had used and discarded across 5 decades. He walked away, took the one piece of leverage that could hurt Kang, an encrypted digital archive, every modern operation, bank accounts, shell companies, officials on the payroll from D.C. to New York. 2 years of running, 6 states, now Baltimore. "So you have your own weapon," Tasha said. Her voice was flat, careful. "Yes, but mine only covers modern operations, current names. Your grandmother's journal proves where it all started. Together, a complete 50-year record of the Kang Syndicate. Enough to end it. Tasha gripped the steering wheel. You used me, she said. You stood in that rain and performed helplessness. You turned my kindness into a doorway. Yes, that's exactly what I did. Silence. But I didn't expect you. I expected a name on a file. I didn't expect a woman who'd sit across from Kang and demand a scholarship in her grandmother's name. His voice dropped. I used you, and you're the first person in 20 years who made me ashamed of what I am. She didn't forgive him, but she understood something she hadn't before. He wasn't running because he wanted freedom. He was running because he saw a mother reading to her kids, and it broke whatever was left of the boy from Busan. That didn't erase the manipulation, but it explained the guilt in his eyes that first night. Your archive and my journal, if we give them to the right people, what happens? Kang goes to prison, his network falls, every politician and judge he owns gets exposed, and your son grows up where these people can't reach him. Tasha turned the key. The engine started. Who do we give them to? A federal prosecutor, Diana Calloway. She's been building a case against Kang for 4 years. Never had enough evidence. Until now. Then let's go find her. Before anything else, Tasha made one phone call. Her cousin Danae in Atlanta. No details, just the words no mother should ever have to say out loud. If anything happens to me, Malik goes to you. His bag is packed, medical records in the blue folder. His favorite book is under his pillow. Her voice cracked on the last part. Don't let him forget me. Danae started crying. Tasha hung up before her own tears could follow. Tears were a luxury. She couldn't afford them. Not today. She met June at a laundromat 3 blocks from her apartment. First time face-to-face since the storm. He looked different in daylight, harder, but his eyes carried the same weight, the exhaustion of someone who forgot what living felt like. June laid it out. Calloway had agreed to meet at a safe house in Annapolis, journal and archive together, arrest warrants within 72 hours. The syndicate folds. But Kang knew June had the archive, and now he knew about the journal. His next move would not be a phone call. June gave Tasha a choice, a real one. Option 1, hand him the journal. He delivers both pieces to Calloway alone. Tasha takes Malik and disappears. Clean, safe. Option 2, she comes with him, delivers the journal herself, testifies if needed. Her name on record, her face in the system, no going back. Tasha thought about Evelyn. She had option 1 her entire life. Could have mailed the journal, leaked it, burned it. Instead, she held it for 35 years, waiting for the right person to use it. My grandmother didn't keep that journal so I could hand it off and hide. June stared at her. If you do this, Kang will know your face. There's no undoing it. I'm a black single mother from Baltimore who works doubles to keep the lights on. I've been in a system my whole life. At least this time, I choose which one. They walked out of the laundromat. June's phone buzzed. A photograph. Malik's school, taken that morning. Her son walking through the front gate with his backpack, shot from across the street. One line of text beneath it. Courage is admirable, Ms. Washington, but it has a price. Your 24 hours are up. Tasha's legs buckled. June caught her arm. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. Something colder settled over her face. Something June had only ever seen in people who had crossed a line they could never come back from. When fear burns long enough, it stops being fear. It becomes something else, something quieter, something that doesn't negotiate. Get me to that prosecutor, she said. Tonight. They photographed her son walking into school. They thought it would break her. They were wrong. What Tasha does next is something Kang never planned for. If you're not subscribed, you're about to miss the most intense chapter of this story. They reached the safe house in Annapolis by 8 p.m., a plain townhouse on a quiet street. No signs, no cameras visible from the outside. The kind of place designed to look like nothing. Diana Calloway was inside. Mid-50s, black woman, reading glasses on a chain. She looked like a school principal, but every word she spoke carried the precision of someone who had spent 20 years dismantling criminal empires. She reviewed the journal page by page. 10 minutes of silence, then she reached the names and took off her glasses. "Do you understand what this is?" she asked. "My grandmother's insurance policy," Tasha said. "This isn't just evidence," Calloway said. "Combined with June's archive, this is the end of the Kang syndicate. If I file this, there's no going back for anyone in this room." "There's been no going back since I pulled over in that storm." Calloway held Tasha's hand across the table. Not like a lawyer, like a woman who understood the cost of bravery. Within an hour, federal agents, forensic accountant, a digital analyst, the machinery of justice turning. Then, June's burner phone rang. Kang's voice filled the room. Calm, warm, the tone of a father calling his son before dinner. "Juna," the Korean familiar form, intimate. "I raised you, fed you, gave you a name, and this is how you repay me?" Tasha took the phone from June's hand. The room froze. "Mr. Kang, this is Tasha Washington, Evelyn Washington's granddaughter." Silence on the line. "My grandmother cleaned your father's house for 15 years. You offered me money, sent men to my door, photographed my son walking into school." Her voice did not waver. "And you still think I should be afraid?" She set the phone down. "Every name, every dollar, every buried deal. It's in federal hands now. Tomorrow, the world finds out." She looked at the phone one last time. "You should have let me drive home in peace, but you sent convoys." She hung up. The room was still. Calloway slowly nodded. One of the federal agents leaned to the other and whispered, "Remind me never to cross her." Calloway's phone rang. Her expression changed. She hung up and addressed the room. "Kang just mobilized. His people are moving. We have 4 hours before he tries to leave the country." She looked at the agents. "Get warrants signed. Wake every judge on our list. We move tonight." The clock started. Federal agents hit 11 locations before sunrise. Safe houses, shell companies, a Koreatown restaurant that laundered money for 2 decades, harbor docks where containers moved cargo no customs agent ever touched. Kang was arrested at BWI Airport at 5:12 a.m. Charcoal coat, boarding a jet to Seoul, he extended his wrists without a word. The only thing he said, "Tell Miss Washington she is exactly like her grandmother." 14 arrests within the hour. City officials, police officers, a developer who washed $40 million through luxury condos, an empire crumbling because a single mother refused to look away. By 7 a.m., every news channel carried the story. Calloway stood at the podium. She did not name Tasha, but she said something that made Tasha, watching from Mrs. Coleman's living room, cover her mouth. This case was possible because everyday citizens chose truth over fear. Some carried that truth for decades. Malik was eating cereal beside her, watching cartoons. He didn't know. One day she would tell him about Evelyn, the journal, the night she pulled over in a storm. But today he got to be safe. Today he got to be safe. June turned himself in that morning. Full cooperation. Before he surrendered, he met Tasha one last time. He handed her an envelope. $200,000, his own savings. "For Malik's education and the scholarship. Your grandmother's name deserves to be on a building." Tasha took it. "This doesn't make us even." "Nothing will." He got into a federal sedan, did not look back. 6 months later, a brass plaque appeared on the 3rd floor of a community center in West Baltimore. The Evelyn Washington Scholarship Room. "Tell the truth I was too afraid to tell." 12 students from single-parent households received full scholarships that fall. Malik helped cut the ribbon. He didn't understand what his great-grandmother did, but he knew her name was on a wall. He knew people clapped when his mother spoke, and he knew that when the storm was worst, his mama drove straight through it. Tasha stood in the doorway after everyone left. She opened the photograph on her phone. Evelyn beside the elder Kang. Young, unafraid, holding a secret that took 35 years to find its purpose. "We made it, Grandma." It started with rain. It started with a woman who stopped for a stranger when the whole world said, "Keep driving." It started with kindness, and kindness was never the weakness they thought it was. It was the key that unlocked everything. Evelyn's silence was not cowardice, it was patience, a lifetime of patience, waiting for the one person brave enough to finish her story. And Tasha, a nurse, a mother, a grandmother, turned out to be exactly that person. Not because she was fearless, but because she loved her son more than she feared their power. And that kind of love does not break. It does not bend. It outlasts empires. A single mother, a stranger in a storm, 3 convoys at dawn, and a grandmother's secret that brought down an empire. If this story moved you, if Tasha reminded you that the quiet people in this world are often the strongest, subscribe to this channel. We tell stories that don't just entertain, they stay with you. Drop a comment. What would you have done that night? Would you have pulled over?